I sold. And I go for the law. Whip when I whip on the stove.
Alright, so I've been reviewing music for a little over a year straight now, and with all the albums that I've reviewed, I can say without a doubt that there have been some albums that I've greatly overrated and some that I've severely underrated as well. While you guys have just been eating that shit up like Sunday dinner because you can't be bothered to make an opinion until someone online does, I've been here chopping up another Monday vid, this time to talk about the projects I reviewed from 2021 that I either put way up on the pedestal or I just didn't give enough props at all.
Master couldn't catch me, my legs long than a bitch. Got too much self-respect, I wash my hands before I piss.
Alright, so before all the quirky teenagers wearing chinos and Converse pissed themselves in frustration, I do want you guys to understand that I still think this album is good, but just not as good as I said it was. Alright, so back in June 2021, Tyler the Creator dropped his 6th studio album, Call Me If You Get Lost, being filled with tons of big name and very unexpected features, such as NBA Youngboy, Lil Uzi, and 42 Thug. And coming off the more mainstream wave he was getting with his 2017 album Flower Boy and 2019's Igor, there was literally nowhere Tyler could go but up, especially in musical quality. Now, as stated before, this album isn't bad at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's gone 3 for 3 in the past 7 years, including this project, so it's not like he's slipping anywhere in terms of musical quality. The themes of taking risks, exploring yourself, and really getting yourself out there in the world really does make this album stand out a lot more than most of the projects from 2021. But I suppose some of the issues just start off with the replay value for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, this album has some bangers such as Lemonhead and Massa, but I would be lying badly if I said that I went back to this album anytime a month or two after it dropped. And I mean, there could be a slew of reasons, from the super mainstream appeal that Tyler's gained since 2019, now having an audience of new age Tumblr kids who all think they're different because they cry hysterically to Frank Ocean, to the more feel I get when listening to this project with tracks such as What's Your Name and Safari. But don't let that discern you from the lyricism and storytelling Tyler does in this album, really allowing himself to shine more as a rapper, talking about his growth as a person, finding his true self, and being able to really get out and explore the world. But I guess at the end of the day, for me, this album doesn't really do too much except for linger in my library until I remember it exists. So back in 2021, I gave this my first 10 out of 10, but now I'm dialing it back down to a low 9 out of 10. Like that makes any difference, am I right?
Moved to Miami and caught me a boat. Hold my fiends, don't stop doing coke.
Alright, so you guys remember how I said that there are some albums that I feel like greatly overrated? Yeah, I would say that this would be one of those projects. And I know that Roddy got a lot of shit for this one, with people mainly saying it's the one that tanked his career, but I actually think that it's just the fact that he doesn't have much appeal musically. I mean, he received so much praise for his 2019 project, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, with the box being a perfect impression of Meat from the Muppets. But when going through this project, it's like instead of being named Live Life Fast, it should have just been called Filler, the album. While there are some nice little tracks such as All Good, Paid My Dues, and Moved to Miami, there's also a lot in this album that I feel just didn't do too much for me at all, making me question if this even needed to be 18 tracks long, and that's not even a long track length in the first place. And then you got Roddy's rapping, which can be a bit iffy, seeming like his signature style is bouncing in and out of the beat while going through 50 different flows all at once. I think where Roddy mainly shines is creating a pretty solid chorus, because even his own verses just seem like nothing to really care about or just outright forgettable, with the features usually being the main highlight of the song. And then add in a little piano being sprinkled everywhere to try and add some depth, alongside the little words from guests or Roddy himself between tracks or even in the intro. It just feels like one big attempt at doing a little too much and not doing enough at the same time. And then looking at the production, it's just basic mainstream trap sound, relying heavily on 808s and sad piano to carry you throughout everything. Kinda remind me of the average NBA Youngboy album. So if I remember clearly, back in 2021, I gave this album an 8 out of 10, but now I'm just kicking this shit down to a strong 5 out of 10. Sorry, not sorry.
Okay.
Alright, so before I get into this one, I just want to formally apologize to anyone who watched that dog shit review. I don't know what I was thinking, and it was a completely different time a year ago, okay? But yeah, after Drake's bloated and boring album Scorpion back in 2018, I didn't really think that Aubrey really had much in the way of musical quality in the tank anymore. Mainly seemed like he's just putting out radio hits and doing cosigns and quick features. And when Certified Lover Boy was first announced, it had to get delayed for 11 months because this nigga hurt his ankle. But in reality, this man was prepping for one of the worst 3 album runs in the history of music. I mean, I was already annoyed because I brought up my expectations for an 11-month delay from Drake of all people, but then to not even be surprised that this just seems so lackluster just really does it for me. And I mean, it has solid features, I guess. It's mainly just the essence of Drake that completely takes his project and throws it down the toilet. And yet there are some other aspects, such as the unnecessary album length and being stuffed with bland and repetitive filler, but for me it's mainly the fact that Drake just doesn't do anything for me on this project except for making good Instagram captions. And it's funny because he's acknowledged how people perceives him in the music fan base as being the corny dude who makes music for 15-year-old girls, but yet and still he proves them right by going that exact direction, and I can't even tell if he's being ironic or not, with how everything flows in this album. But I stated before, the features were cool and it had some pretty alright beats such as Fair Trade and In the Bible, but overall this just seems like a shell of Drake's former self. And as far as I understand, back in 2021 I gave this an embarrassing 8 out of 10, but now we're taking this down to a clean 4. But hey, at least it's better than what came after it.
don't wanna talk too much, dog, cause they know my ting. From the south of the Thames, man, cut man off, cause they slow my ting.
Alright, so I think this might be the only album that I listened to from 2021 on this list that I still listen to regularly today. And I know Goldlink became a more controversial figure in hip-hop and fell way out of the mainstream light since the whole Mac Miller debacle, if you guys remember that. But man, I would be lying horribly if I said this project didn't have some very interesting and fun aspects to it. See, if there's one sound Goldlink is mainly known for, it's the whole dancehall vibe with quick-fire bars to make for some more easygoing tracks. But when going into this album, and even with the singles that preceded it, it's like he took a complete 180 and went for this more gritty, more production heavy and harder hitting sound that definitely caught my attention when it first came out. I mean, from the production to the features, it all really hits hard for the most part, with tracks such as Evian and Wild and Lethal Trash being the main standouts for me. I guess the only issue, and I mean this genuinely, like the only issue would have to be Goldlink himself. It's like the moment you listen to a song and then the beat catches your attention and you're just ready to groove, you then get hit with a slew of some muddy as shit vocals that are uneven for every beat from this project to the point that it can be a complete turnoff. And for the verses that I could understand, I did like the rapping that we're given. I feel like Goldlink was trying to show a more mature and confident version of himself, really trying to show that he's more than just the lovey-dovey dancehall dude. Like honestly, if he goes back to this route later on, I feel like his execution might be 100 times better than what we were given here. So I believe back in 2021 I gave this a strong 2 or 3 out of 10, but looking back now, I'll give this a low 7 out of 10, being a solid attempt at something new. But that's just my look back on albums that I feel like gave either too little or just too much credit. And I know there are some names on here you guys know and don't know, so I just ask that you guys check these projects out when you get the chance and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But if you liked the video, feel free to subscribe as well, follow my IG and Twitter, and follow the artist as well if you like the illustrations. And on that note, I'll see you on Friday when I tell you why Lil Durk is actually a CIA experiment. Peace.
Ah!